Hey you guys, this is Tired Goth, and you are reading Malware. Today's episode is going to be a single take, reading about the In Destroyer paper that was affecting I think it was called the incontroller thing, and this is called the pipe dream malware. So we're gonna get into this here. If I'm not mistaken, it's in this window right here. Yeah. Okay, so um, in this paper, the executive summary of the paper starts off: Destroyer 2, also known as Pipe Dream, are the newest examples of the ICS, which is like the internal control system specific malware, and were disclosed in the public almost simultaneously on April 12th and 13th, 2022, respectively. I'm just gonna fix the zoom on this thing because it's like way small. There we go. Let's boost that thing up to 150. So, yeah. It says In Destroyer 2 leverages OS or operating system specific wipers and a dedicated module to communicate over the IEC 104 industrial protocol. And incontroller, according to this paper, is a full toolkit. Oops. Containing modules to send instructions to or retrieve data from ICS devices using industrial network protocols such as OPC UA, Modbus, Code System, or CodeSys, Machine Expert, Discovery, and Omron FINS. Additionally, InDestroyer 2 has a highly targeted configuration, while InController is much more reusable across different targets. ICS-specific malware is still very rare when compared to the commodity malware, such as ransomware or banking trojans. InDestroyer 2 and InController follow previous known examples, such as Stuxnet, Havox, Black Energy 2, and InDestroyer and Triton, shown in the timeline figure below. So, okay. For those of you who have followed the show and kind of got a sense of which malware papers were being discussed, we started with the industrial and ICS controller malwares first because I don't know if anyone knows this, I happen to be a huge fan of how Stuxnet was written. And it's not because it was so destructive, it's because it actually could have been completely harmless in any other context apart from, turbines being what it was applied to. But the point still stands. If you have control of an ICS, it is an internal control panel or system that controls other larger, more significant, or rather, I should say, significantly active machines that are doing more of the more obvious work, where the control panel kind of sits there and is like, push button so this does this, and push lever to do this over here, and so on and so forth. It kind of just brings multiple layers and multiple facets of the same controls into one tiny little place where you can just control everything remotely or, through one control panel or two of them if you need additional privileges to get to a secondary layer of that. You have that as well. So ICS controllers, while they're not as often applied, I guess, because the contexts in which they are applicable usually have to do with grand scale sort of attacks. I mean, you had some of the stuff that was going on in Ukraine, with Russia taking over their electrical grid and so on and so forth. And one of the other papers that I had covered on the show some time ago, I want to say it was in the 50s or 60s, that episode, if you wanted to check that. But there was also an episode where I talk about gray matter, black matter, just like the general ICS control systems where like these controllers have a larger application for them and it's a matter of who wants to get their hands on them. So usually smaller scale attacks like banking, and yes, banking scams and banking malware and stuff like that are actually smaller scale because you usually have groups of people who are like, just get in and get out. That's their incentive, to just apply the malware, take what they can get, and leave with it as cleanly and as effectively as possible, without there being too much work going into it, without it turning into a bigger chess game than it already is for them, perceptibly. It's a matter of what the incentive is, like I said. And with ICS controllers, the incentives of the types of people who are getting their hands on that kind of malware are usually already engaging in some sort of like cyber warfare. So you have people who are potentially trying to engage in guerrilla warfare with other countries. You have people who are taking over companies in order to put them out of business. You have sabotage missions. You have crime ring hires that are doing this kind of stuff to get people to sell out their business to a crime ring that's trying to take over the area. There are a number of things that could be going on in a situation like that with respect to why a control system would be taken over for something that's actually controlling things like factory parts or moving vehicles that are automatically controlled, farming systems, irrigation systems. You have to wonder what is going on in the mind of a person who wants to take control of those specific types of control panels, because it's not like the control panels are something that can, necessarily control other people, but it does control what the people are going to be able to do in a time frame specific to their reaction time to something going wrong with the machine. So it's like you have to wonder, why that would be used in the first place. But that is specific to the intention behind manipulating software that controls hardware specifically. So it's like if you can get into the mind of a person who's puppeteering in that moment, sometimes people don't have a reason. Sometimes it's just, let's see what we can do, even though it's a very expensive and it's a very federally criminal, let's see what we can do, Um, it's like a let's see what sticks kind of thing with the cost